When I first started BBISHOPPCM's world, it really wasn't much of a channel. It was more of just a place for me to upload some random videos that I saw or that I recorded that I felt others would be interested in seeing. My very first video was the International Harvester stationary engine that my grandfather had given me. And I filmed that video in the summer of 2006. I was getting ready to take on a job that I still have to this day, fortunately. And I had about 2 weeks between jobs. I did that deliberately so I could have a little bit of fun time. So I grabbed my Sony DSC P72 and I started playing with the video function. This camera I paid about $400 for in 2004, so the camera was already 2 years old but barely used. I then discovered YouTube. I think it was sometime in early 2007, and I decided, hey, what the hell, I'll upload the video and see if anybody likes it. Well, people liked it, actually, quite a few did, and it encouraged me to continue on, but it wasn't until almost a year before I finally started making videos on a regular basis. I would say it was about 2008 I started making videos on a more regular basis, and by that point I realized I needed a better camera. This particular unit only had a 5-minute recording span, and at the time it wasn't so bad because YouTube only had a 10-minute upload limit for everybody. And many of you probably weren't even using YouTube back then, but believe me, it was a developing service, and I'm not sure if Google had owned it at the time, but they only had a 10-minute limit on video size. Once YouTube evaporated that 10-minute limit, I went out and purchased my very first purpose-built video camera. I bought a Flip Minnow, the standard definition model, and that replaced the Sony Cybershot, at least for my video projects. I used that Flip Minnow for many videos. I think I used it for approximately 6 months, until I finally said, I'd rather have a better camera. I want something with better video quality. I want something that is really geared more towards long-term video usage. I want replaceable battery packs. I want it all. So I bought my used Sony DSC. Actually, what is this thing? A DCR, TRV-19. V Westlife actually has a version of this camera. It's the next model up. This is a mini DV camera. You can upload directly to a computer through the FireWire interface. The problem with this camera is it uses tapes, and in order to upload a tape, you have to play back the entire tape. So, a half-hour video takes half an hour to transmit to the computer. That sucked. But it was good enough for me. This camera served me very well, as a matter of fact, and I only paid about $120 for it, I think. 120x digital zoom. I think it was only like 30 or 40x optical, but yeah, mini DV. The thing still works. I have a dozen tapes for it. I don't use it anymore for obvious reasons. It's got a hot shoe, or no, it's a cold shoe for a video light, and but it weighs a lot. Very heavy, very heavy. So this was actually quite fatiguing to use, believe me. It even has a nice little touchscreen interface that can be supplemented by the button. Actually, no, I think that was the primary input for this camera. This was a very nice camera, by the way, in its day. It was a very expensive one. Well, for consumer cameras, anyway. Then I replaced this camera. Once it started acting up, my videotape started wearing out, my battery started wearing out, and it was getting to be fatiguing to use. I had to replace it with something, and it just so happened that I was asked to do a videography project for someone, and she insisted on paying me handsomely. So I said, well, I need a new camera, and I'm not going to use the VHS camera that you're offering me, so I tell you what. $350, I'll do the entire thing. I'll do all the editing. I'll do all the video transfer to DVD. I'll do it all. I had just bought my Macintosh iMac. I think I had a 20-inch iMac when those first came out in aluminum trim. And I had all the software I needed with iLife and an iMovie. So she said, okay, sure. She handed me $350 cash, and I went out and I bought the Candy Ham. This is a camera that, well, I love this camera because it has a nice back video light built right in, and it has a 80 gig hard drive with a backup memory stick in case the hard drive blows up, which I've never used, but I have a 2 gig memory stick in there that's never been used. Anyway, I bought this camera. I think by this point we were some point in 2000. I think it was 2009 or 10 is when I bought this. And because I think I had my Nissan Murano at the time. That's how I can tell. Like, what was I driving? The Nissan Murano I had in 2009 to 2010. And so they loved the coverage I got. I used both of these cameras, as a matter of fact, to get 2 different angles. And, it was a good time, and everybody had a lot of fun. And I got a camera out of the deal. So the camera paid for itself in full on the first day of use. I would say this camera probably made me almost $10,000 on YouTube. Believe it or not, this camera I made the bulk of my profitable videos with this camera. And I've done very well with that. Actually, no. Yeah, that was right around the time I started making money off my videos when I bought this one. Now, at that point, when my viewers, I sometimes like to make you happy. Sometimes I just make what makes me happy using the equipment that I'm okay with using. But I got a lot of angry people wanting me to switch to HD. HD, man, you guys are persuasive. I finally said, okay, screw it, I'm going to buy an HD camera. So I went out. By this point, it was like 2013. And, no, it was about 2012 or 13. I want to say it was 13. And, I went out and I bought a JVC Averio. I forget the exact model. But it was an HD camera, and it just so happened that my friends needed a videographer for their wedding. And it was a free job because they're my friends. And I said, sure. So I bought that camera because I knew that I couldn't get decent video with this thing because they're going to want HD. And so I bought that camera just to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It was a cheapie, like, I don't know, $150, something like that. And I shot a couple of short videos with it and the wedding, and I discovered that the audio on that camera was absolutely deplorable. It was like listening to a tin can telephone. It was so bad. And I didn't realize this until after I filmed the wedding, and I'm like, oh shit. I couldn't hear their vows. I couldn't hear anything. Luckily, I had the foresight of filming with 2 cameras simultaneously for 2 different angles. One low quality, one high quality. But thank God I did that, because I was able to pull the audio off of the footage I captured with the Sony and blend it with the footage that I caught with the JVC. So I was able to get an absolutely perfect audio track. I was able to sync it up and everything. At that point, I had a bit of a dilemma. I needed another camera. My viewers want HD. I took the JVC, I repackaged it, and I actually gave it to my sister for Christmas, I think, of that year. And she still, to this day, hasn't touched it. So, I bought the camera that I'm using right now. This is a Sony DSC H90. This was basically a digital still camera. It has served me for the past couple of years quite faithfully, but it is breaking down. This is what the camera looks like. Just a basic, run-of-the-mill, point-and-shoot digital still camera that happens to film with video. It happens to film video pretty well. The problem with this camera is the zoom function sucks when you're filming because it's very slow. Other than that, it works okay. The video quality is not too bad, but it's pretty lacking in low light conditions. My condo is one big giant low light condition. So with that, the camera actually has. I had problems with this from day one, mainly with the charging system. So this one has a removable battery pack that you slide into a Sony charger. And that charger has never really worked well. Sometimes it charges, sometimes it doesn't. Well, I was in Los Angeles, and I couldn't get the damn thing to charge. I actually resorted to percussive therapy to get it charging. That and liberal uses of rubbing alcohol and cotton swabs. But I got it to work, and the camera was only a few months old at that time. I think I bought this camera like in Black Friday or somewhere near that. Anyway, I had nothing but problems with this camera from basically from day one, and the battery is now at a point where it doesn't hold a charge worth a damn. I've been getting battery charge errors on the charging station, and not only that, but it's getting kind of old, and I need to better improve my video quality. But not enough to justify going out and buying a brand new or even a used professional camera. I think the professional cameras are just too damn big for what I do. Physically, they're large. And filming with my phone is totally impractical. Believe me, I've thought about it. So I went out and I bought a pretty much a primary use digital. What am I trying to say? A traditional digital video camera. It's late, guys. It's 8:42. Give me a break. I'm old. Well, I'm only 31, but I'm still older than some of you. So I bought this. Now, this was a kind of an unplanned purchase. I was basically out at the mall getting some lunch, and I happened to walk through Best Buy, and they had a bunch of cameras. I'm like, that reminds me, I need a freaking camera. So I'm like, screw it, I bought it. I didn't do any homework, didn't do any research, didn't do any comparison shopping. Okay, I admittedly did look it up on my phone. I found out that Best Buy's price wasn't unreasonable. It was pretty much what everybody else was charging, only I didn't have to pay shipping. So, and if I didn't like it, I could just waltz back to the store and bring it back. And I just noticed a button on here. Oh, that's the shutter. I'm like, wait, is there something else this does? No, anyway. So I bought this. This is a Vixia HF-R62. This was the highest of the 3 R-series cameras they had. What makes it better than the others is it has a built-in 32 gig storage chip. But I opt to use a memory card. So I bought a memory card to go with it. And the memory card slot's right there. Simple controls, point and shoot, but it also has some pretty cool shooting options. I mean, of course, all cameras basically have them, like film mode, sepia, black and white, high contrast or high color, sports mode. It has all that. It doesn't have a built-in video light, unfortunately, and it doesn't work so well in low light conditions, as you're going to see in a few minutes. It works passably well, but it's not perfect. It actually does work better than this one. So hopefully you guys are going to complain less about the low light and more about the graininess of the footage. Yes, it's grainy. But one feature it has that I like, and I know you guys will appreciate this, is a built-in optical image stabilizer. What that basically means is all the shaking that I do with the camera, and you guys are always bitching about it, hopefully, this camera will improve that, if I decide to turn the feature on. I've turned it off for the moment because it films better without it, but, well, anyway, you'll see. Oh, yes, and it has a 180-minute recording life on the battery. The battery on this camera is physically much larger than the one on this camera. I believe it's 2685 milliamp hours, 3.6 volts, and I'm not sure what this one is, but I'll find out in a minute. 920 milliamp hours at 3.6 volts. So, yeah, almost double, if not more than double, more than double the lifespan on the battery pack, which is nice. Because right now I'm down to 1 bar, and that's not making me feel good. So, all right, well, I've done a comparison of both cameras simultaneously, where you're going to see what I see. And what I've actually done in this section, in this next segment, is I've cut the audio and kind of altered from one camera to the other. So not only can you see the video comparison, but also the audio quality comparison. You're going to find that the new camera has a much deeper, thicker sound, which I could always edit a little bit and, you know, change it up a little bit maybe. But, you know, I don't think I'm going to actually do that. You guys are probably so used to this camera. I think it makes me sound more masculine in a way. But that aside, I actually like the new camera. I did, you know, a couple of test shots with it, and I'm very happy with it. I mean, for what I paid, what did I pay? I paid like $270. No, $250. It was $250. $255, $260. Yeah, it was $260. That's what it was. Certainly not the most expensive camera, but not the cheapest that I've purchased over the past few years. But yeah, very nice camera. For the money, you know, there really isn't. The thing is, there isn't a lot on the market right now for consumer cameras. Professional grade cameras are all the rage, because if you're not using your cell phone, you're going to either use a GoPro Hero or you're going to use a professional camera. And the professional camera start at about $1,000. So, okay. One more thing before I go away. I did look at all the Sony offerings, and I was horrified with what Sony has done to their camera line. It looks like they're getting ready to drop them. The new Sony cameras have no semblance of quality of any kind. Although I didn't actually use one, I'm not impressed one bit. They all felt chintzy, like they're about to break. They look cheap. They feel like, you know, they almost remind me of those cameras you see on eBay for $9 from China. That's what they feel like, and I'm not buying that. I'm a huge Sony user. I love Sony products. Can you tell? I've been buying Sony cameras since my very first digital camera, with one exception. I bought a Canon A400 that my mom now has, but all of my cameras are Sony, and I loved their products, but now I can't say I do. I'm not happy with what they've become. Of course, the company's in financial turmoil, and I'm going to shut up now so you can continue on with this video, and you don't have to hear me drone on and on and on. Have a good one. Here we go. Remember, yeah, here I am again. Remember, the image on the top is the Canon, and the image on the bottom is this one, the Sony. Okay. Here. Alright, so I started both cameras at the exact same time, and I want to make a casual observation. This is what the Sony looks like through the viewfinder. This is what the Canon looks like through the viewfinder. A little bit darker, a little bit more, I would say a little bit more realistic, actually. I'm going to try to move these exactly the same way, and you're going to do like a split screen kind of thing. This, by the way, is the Sony, and this is the Canon. Okay. Here we go. Down the hall, down the stairs. Now with the living room. A very messy living room. And it looks like this one, it's none of these are zoomed in, by the way. They're both zoomed out, and the lenses are pretty much the exact same distance from the objects that you see. And already I can see that the Canon, oh, I know why, because I have image stabilization turned on. That's why. Image stabilization actually takes away some of the outer frame to give it some buffer space to move the Okay, that's why it's doing that. So, alright, let's take a look at the frogs with the light off. Now, this has always been a problem. It looks better on the Canon, from my view. On the Sony, it looks almost black. So, let's say hi to Mr. Frog. This is Kermit. No, this is Reptar, I'm sorry. You can see Reptar in this camera, but not so much here. Now he's coming out to say hi. Of course, the Canon has automatic macro features, which helps a little bit. Alright, so again, I'm trying to keep these cameras side by side. You can see that the Canon focuses much quicker than the Sony does. Remember, the Sony was built entirely as a, or primarily as a still camera. Let's test some of that classic BBISHOPPCM image stabilization and seesaw boat on the rocky seas type filming. I'm getting a nice vivid red on the on this, whereas this camera not so much. One thing I've noticed with my Sony lately is that it's starting to, like, I don't want to say fizzle out, but the the image seems to flicker a little bit from time to time. Let's check a completely dark corner. This is the main entrance. Let's see which one you guys like better. I know that the image will be grainy on both, but it seems to be much more grainy on the Canon. So I'm going to turn the stabilization off on the Canon so we can get a better shot of it. See what that does to the image quality. Here we go. So I just enabled a feature on this camera, the Canon, that records at a higher quality. Let's see if that makes any. That's 24 megabit per second transfer rate. Let's see what it does. It gives me a record time of 2 hours and 50 minutes total. And we're going to see if that makes any difference. I still haven't found the function that lets me turn off stabilization. I gotta find that. But I'm not doing any side-by-side video here. This is just solo to see how it looks. Okay, I've turned off the Intelligent IS, which is the image stabilization. And you can clearly see it's really jumpy and bumpy. But I think we've gotten our visual field back. Maybe it, maybe not. Now this is without image IS. And this is with image stabilization. Okay, I think I like it without. So this is without. Okay. Now I'm going to upload the footage and we're going to do that side-by-side comparison video and see what shakes loose. Hopefully things work out in a positive way. Because I really would like to get 2 years out of this camera, just as I had with this one. Maybe a little longer, maybe not. Maybe someone will give me $900. I can buy a used professional camera, huh? Anyone want to give me $900 to do that? I didn't think so. So, you know what? For now, I'll just stick with what I got, right? Okay, let's see how it goes.